Yeah, podcasting is super fun, but, it's a job too.
Yeah, and I knew going in, I wasn't one of those people who's like, oh, I'm just going to do it. Like, I did my research, I knew, but I thought, I'm the type of person, what I feel I need to do, I will do. Right. But then I was just kind of like, for me, with the setup that I had, it wasn't really giving me the return in terms of the audience and all the things, and it was going to take even more work to build it. And I was like, I think I'm going to put my energy.
Well, you're doing like a million things,
right? So I was just like, I can't
even keep track of all the things you're doing. Like you're on TV. What's like top of mind right now? Like you got the TV show right on OWN.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I host a show on OWN. I've been hosting since I stopped boxing. I went on Dancing with the Stars,
right?
And that was
a while ago, though.
That was a while ago, before I even had kids. Yeah, right. I retired in 2007, and then I did that right afterwards. And that was a strategic move, in terms of just opening myself to another audience. Right. And
how was that?
It was crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, right? Like the people that do well train really hard, and you almost, you were like third or something like that, right? Like you went all the way down to the end.
Yeah, everybody trains hard. You have to, in order to just get out there and perform. But I think that, me being an athlete, it wasn't as hard physically as it was for everyone else. For a lot of people, it's physically hard. For me, it was more mental, because working with a partner, when you're used to just going out there, I'm used to going in the ring like, I'm going to win this fight.
Right.
Period.
It's just me.
Yeah, but I had to rely on my partner, dance with the partner. Then sometimes we weren't always getting along, but you don't want to show that on camera. So it was just like, but I want to get to the end. So, I did. So it was worth it. It was fun.
How did the boxing experience and training inform how you approach dance?
I approach pretty much everything the same way, I would say. And it's just like I first have to assess the situation. What's it going to take of me? Because I'm one of those people that feels like I can pretty much do anything that I want to do. So first I had to say, okay, do I really want to do this? I didn't at first. I was just like, I don't want to do this. No. And then I thought about, actually, this could be a really good platform. So I had to get my strategic mind. And then when I realized, I need to do this, then I was like, okay, I want to do this. And I assessed how much work I thought it was going to take. And I just kind of put it in, and it's just like, I like to, like for fighting, for example, I know there's an end goal, and I know I have, whether it's an 8-week or a 10-week training camp. For these 8 to 10 weeks, I'm going to go hard as hell, you know, and then there's an end. So with dancing, I kind of looked at it that way. Okay, how long do I need to do this? This is what's going to come at the end. And then, if it's open-ended, it's like, for me.
But I think coming from boxing, it would seem to me there's a lot of, they're very different, but there's still some similarities. Like it's footwork, it's repetitive motions, it's kind of, there's a sort of, there's a dance to boxing as well, right? Like I feel like boxing is probably well suited for making that kind of switch. No?
When you have to really narrow it down to the pros and the cons and what you're bringing into it, because everyone's, that comes from whether you're an actor or a singer or a performer. Like I can look at the performers and be like, that's not fair. They're performers. Like this is nothing for them. Whereas as a boxer, then someone who was an actress would say, oh no, but you have the footwork, but it's totally different. Like it's so different. Yeah. Like I've seen other boxers go on there and they didn't necessarily do as well. You know what I mean? So it takes so much more than that.
Yeah. Why do you think you got to all the way near the end then versus the other boxers?
I'm me. No, I'm playing. Yeah. I always get to the end where I win.
Attitude.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But I think it was a multitude of things. I think for one, the audience has to like you. The judges, because the audience votes, the judges vote, and you have to do well. So I think that for me, I brought a different energy than most because for one, I'm not the average size. I'm a big girl. Yeah. I'm strong physically. I had a lot of muscle. I'm moving in and out, but I was out there doing my thing. Whereas in the dance world, they're very strict, not for Dance with the Stars, but in the real dance world, it's just like you have to be a certain size, you have to be petite, you have to be shorter than the man, all these different things. And I didn't really fit any of that, but I kind of made it my own and came out there and just did my thing. So I think that it's really just the feeling that people get when they see you and then they want to get behind you. And it's like, that's that. That's my take on it.
There's like 40 million people that watch that show, right? So that had to be kind of a whirlwind crazy thing. In terms of like a strategic trajectory of saying, okay, I'm leaving boxing and now I want to set myself up for something else. Like, you certainly, you succeeded in introducing yourself to America in a different way. Did it work? I assume it worked. There's a fly buzzing around. Sorry about that.
I'm going to knock him out. No, I'm playing. No, it was fun because when I went into boxing, I felt like I had to prove myself. I had to prove that I was tough. I had to prove that I just want to be a fighter. I had to really find my own lane. And I had spent so much time being serious and being, hardcore all the time. Every time you saw me, I was talking about knocking somebody out. Now I'm kind of intimidating, unapproachable, kind of like, that's cool, but stay away. Yeah. So for me, but that's not who I am. That was who I am in the ring. So I was so young too. So now I kind of felt like, you know what, this is going to be fun. I'm going to show different people a different side of myself. And I was able to introduce people who didn't even know me or know anything about me. They just knew, okay, Muhammad Ali's daughter, she was a boxer, to see me for the first time. So it was just fun. It was a fun transition for me. So yeah.
So now you're doing the TV show, which is kind of like, it's like a home makeover kind of thing. You help people, figure their shit out.
Yeah, right. Well, Homemade Simple it's going into its 9th season, and there's been different hosts, and I'm the host now. And when I became the host, it went from a half-hour show to an hour show. And we really get more into the stories of the individuals, because these are people who are amazing. I mean, like, you could have a mom who is single, but she's taken on her sister's kids because her sister passed away, or something like that. And she just is like, I need a place where I can go to relax. So she'll want her master bedroom made over. So I'll come in with a team, and, we'll kind of take that on and do it. But then there's DIY projects, and I get in the kitchen and I cook, recipes out of my cookbook, Food for Life. So that's fun for me. So I've hosted a lot of shows, but I really like this show in particular because I get to work with people, and I get to do the things that I love, cooking and decorating. I'm not the decorator. We have a designer, but I've always loved it.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
So I just a couple of weeks ago, I went to the premiere of What's My Name?
Oh, yeah.
Were you there?
I was.
I figured you probably were.
Yeah, in L.A., downtown.
Yeah. I'm friends with Billy Gerber, one of the producers on the movie, and he was gracious enough to give me an invite. And there were so many things about your father that I didn't know that I learned. I mean, there's a lot. Look, there's so much film on your dad, and a lot of documentaries and movies have been made, but this really took it back, way back, and all this footage of him and you just realize, like, man, he was so young when all of this started.
Can you imagine being that young? I can't imagine. I know.
His first boxing match, he's like 16. It's on TV, right? And he's almost fully formed at that point. Like, you figure, I think there's this conventional wisdom that all the trash talk kind of started once he got big, but it kind of starts way earlier than that.
Yeah, I think that you just caught it on camera more when he got big, but it was always there, Right. Yeah.
And I was struck by, just the beauty and the elegance with which he lived his life. And, I want to get into it a little bit more, but kind of just stepping off of that, as his daughter, you mentioned earlier, like, everybody knows you as his daughter, right? And that's like one of the biggest shadows, of all time to have to kind of live in. And I would imagine that there's great things about that, and there's also, like, a lot of challenges that you probably wish, you could just whisk away.
It's crazy because I'm definitely always going to be Muhammad Ali's daughter. But I don't feel uncomfortable with it. It's like, I don't really feel like I'm in his shadow, even though to other people, I probably am.
Yeah.
No, let me say that again. To other people, I am.
Yeah.
Because I've always kind of woken up thinking, like, what's Layla going to do today? It's not like, I'm Muhammad Ali's daughter. What's that going to do for me today? You know what I'm saying? So me and my father are so alike, but so different. And we've always been like, people just assume, people just assume that I'm daddy's girl and all that. And I'm so not. I'm the last. And, there's 9 of us.
I know.
And
you're you're the 8th of 9, right?
Yeah. So I have a brother who was adopted when, I forget how old I was when he was adopted, but I'm the youngest of my dad's natural children, and I'm the youngest girl. And then I'm like the feistiest, most challenging one for him.
So what did you guys butt heads over?
Oh my God. I always, I do a lot of public speaking, and I always talk about the 3 big meetings that we had. So I remember, okay, first of all, I'm not Muslim. That was big. You saw how much, if you watched the movie, if you didn't know before, my dad's whole life is like based around his religion. And for me to be an 8-year-old at the time, and I'm estimating 7 or 8, and I told my dad, I don't want to be Muslim. And he's just like, what? Like, you're not old enough to know what you want. And I was like, I'm old enough to know it's not in my heart. It's not in my heart. So what can he say?
Yeah.
So then it was just kind of, no, he didn't like that at all. So then everything from then on out was, this happened because you're not Muslim, or you're doing that because you're not Muslim. And everything's like, because I'm not Muslim. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, really? So as I got older, and then and I'd say, for example, I had on fitted jeans like I have on now. It's like, he'd be staring at you. Why you got those jeans on? Men are going to look at your butt and they're just going to want to have sex with you. And then he'd go on this whole tangent. And I'm like, I don't want to hear you talking to me that way. So then we kind of get into it all the time. Like, I'm not going to come visit you when you come in town if you're going to disrespect me. We'd be back and forth. So it was like that. Then when I was 18, I moved out the house and moved in with a boyfriend. And it was like,
I'm sure that went over
well.
Oh,
yeah. But it was like, but it wasn't so much I'm worried about you and you're too young to be with a guy. It was just, no, you're living in sin. And it was a religious thing again. And I was like, I'm not Muslim. So then that became an issue. And I was like, wait a minute, I pay my own bills. Because I had a business when I was, 18. I had a nail salon. I moved out. I was supporting myself. So then I was kind of like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And then, of course, in the boxing, that was another conversation.
Right.
He tried to talk me out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but that makes you your father's daughter. Like that spirit, that feistiness, that spine.
He has so much respect.
That's him too, right?
He has so much
respect. Was he able
respect.
to recognize
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At a certain point, that's what I'm saying. I remember when he told me not to box, first he tried to talk me out of it indirectly. And when he, because I kind of started in secrecy, because I was like, had to figure out for myself, is this what I really want to do? I understood everything that was going to come with it, but I was like, let me get in the gym, see if I even have the talent, because I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass my family, and I just want to be good. So I trained for like 6 months without anyone knowing.
Stealth mode.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I was like, I'm just going to go lose some weight, work out. But I knew what my goal was. So when it got around to him and he asked me about it and said, are you in the gym? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And then he was just like, well, what are you going to do? There's going to be so much attention on you, so much pressure on you. And I'm like, I'm ready to deal with that. I've thought that through. Well, what if you get knocked down in the ring and the lights are on? He builds this whole scene and you're on the canvas and everybody's watching. I was like, well, you've been knocked down. I'm going to do what you did.
Or you could just say, well, what would you have said if somebody said that to you back in the day?
Well, like I didn't even, at the end of the day, I wasn't even trying to talk him out or trying to talk me out of it. I was just going with his flow. I knew where he was going with it. And I was like, just answering him. I said, I'm going to do what you did. You got up, right? And then if he got so frustrated, he finally was just like, it's not for you. It's not for women. It's too hard. It's not a woman's sport. And I just said, you know what, Dad? Because I expected him to say something like that. And I just said, you know what? I understand how you feel, but this is what I'm going to do. And I've already made my mind up. So he just had to roll with it.
Yeah, he came around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he apologized. I remember I won my second title, and he came to my dressing room after the fight, and he had tears. He used to cry all the time, tears of joy usually, but he had tears in his eyes, and I'm like, oh God, what now? And he says, I want to apologize to you. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Women can fight. You can fight. And then of course he starts trying to show me how to jab and I was like, now you want to teach me something? Like I already got world titles. Like what are you talking about? So,
well, let's step it back a little bit. I mean, first of all, were you an athlete like in high school?
Not at all.
You didn't do anything?
Nope.
Not even like basketball, volleyball, nothing.
I was too busy being bad in school. I was always.
What were you into?
Oh my God, ditching.
Yeah.
I had a very dysfunctional childhood.
You were born in Miami, but did you grow up? Did you go to high school around here?
I grew up. I was born in Miami. Literally, just was there probably not even 30 days. My dad was training for a fight, and then we flew back here. So I grew up in LA all of my life. So
where'd you go to high school?
I went to multiple high schools because, like I said, I was bad. I went to Hamilton. I went to Uni. I went to Venice. I went to Culver City. Like I used to get. I got kicked out a couple times. Yeah, for fighting. So like I always tell people, no, I was always a fighter. So I had a dysfunctional family, being that my mom and dad got divorced. My stepdad was an asshole. And I remember moving from the Hancock Park area, which is adjacent to Beverly Hills where we lived. And then my mom getting remarried and said, we're moving to Malibu. And that was like crushed me, like to go to a whole new place down the coast. I'm talking about 15 minutes past Pepperdine, like
North Malibu.
Yeah, like
there's
far.
Nothing going on.
Nothing there, no friends, nobody. So that like broke my heart, and then the whole dysfunction started happening. So I was an angry kid, and just trying to find myself and trying to always get back to LA. So I was spending the night at friends' house a lot and all that. And then I always had this tough exterior about me, and I was like a rebel without a cause. And I just got myself in trouble hanging around the wrong crowd, ditching school. And then one day I was with this young lady who shoplifted, and then was like, oh, let's go. I don't pay for anything. And I'm like, oh, okay. I had money in my pocket. So I shoplifted with her, got caught, got in the system. That's how I ended up in the system. And now I'm on probation.
Yeah.
And then I got in trouble again. And then I got put in juvenile hall.
Right.
So I went, that was like the end of my world. Like, cause I had this attitude like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to court today and I'll be home later. And then the judge actually locked me up and I was in juvenile hall for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah.
And then after juvenile hall, I came out and had to go to a group home because they were like, something's not right at your house. And it wasn't. My mom just really didn't know what was going on with me. She was like caught up in her marriage. And I ended up in a group home in a program that I had to graduate, which most people don't graduate. They say, you're going to be here for at least a year. And I was like, I cannot be here for a year. So then I graduated in 6 months. And then I got back on track because I'd already went to school to learn how to do nails. And then I got my license. I moved out the house and kind of never looked back on all that.
Right. So juvie was like, what were you, like 17 or something, 16
No, I
or
was
something
15.
like that?
15.
Wow.
Yeah. 15. Yeah, I was 15. And it was like the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But that was like to have your freedom taken,
Yeah.
To have your freedom
But
taken away.
not 3
Not for that long. Yeah. We're not talking about no overnight.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Most of the time when I say that, people are like, oh, you got in trouble, your parents came and got you. It's like, no.
Right.
And then when I got arrested, I used the name Anderson, which was my mom's name at the time because I didn't want to say Ali. And then
I was going to ask about that.
So no one really knew.
No one knew
until
no, and that would have just exacerbated.
Well, it started to get around because you see kids come through that are like, wait a minute, I know her from my school, and then it kind of got around.
Right.
But I was always, my file was always under the name Anderson, and I never got sentenced to time. That's the crazy thing. The judge said, you're going to get 2 weeks and I want to see you back here. And I was like, oh my God, 2 weeks seemed like 2 years. And when I came back, I stayed behind the courtroom all day. He didn't see me. He sent me back again for another 2 weeks. He did that to me a few times that added up to 3 months because the judge was like, you're Muhammad Ali's daughter. Like, what the heck is going on with you, girl? Right. So he just wanted to teach me a lesson, and get me on track. So. And
where was Dad throughout this whole thing?
You know what? He wasn't there. I'll tell you that. He knew what was going on, but I didn't want him to come visit me. I didn't want, anyone to see my father there. So everyone was just kind of like, what's going on with Laila? Like, so you would think that I was going to be the one that was going to amount to nothing, but obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah. So, all right. So you got kind of scared straight. I mean, was drugs and alcohol part of that at all or just behavior stuff?
No, I never did. I never drank. I never did drink. I smoked a little weed, but never did any drugs. I always had a really good head on my shoulders. I was always strong, confident in myself. It's just the anger that I had is what really got me into trouble. Because I had this, like I said, I want to do my own thing. And I didn't want to be I'm just Muhammad Ali's daughter. So all of our friends that were like our wealthy friends, kids and all that, I didn't really want to hang out around them. But I went totally to the other side, to the hood, and then of course I didn't have the street smarts and things. And that's how I ended up getting myself in trouble. So.
Yeah, but sometimes that flirtation with the darkness is what you need to get the needle sorted out and get straight.
I wouldn't change anything from, and I talk about it all the time. I wrote a book about it. My first book was Reach, Finding Strength, Spirit, and Personal Power because, when people started speculating why am I a fighter, it was funny to me because I'm like, these motherfuckers just don't know.
Fighting the whole time.
Yeah, I've been fighting. I was fighting my stepdad when I was a kid. I mean, and that's why all of that started because I didn't accept him. I didn't accept the way he was treating my mom. I watched my mom be weak. I tried to stand up for her. And then I got mad at her, like, you're going to let this person do this to you and to us. And I had all this anger. I felt abandoned. My dad lived in a different state. He didn't really know what was going on. And so it's like you understand that, your father is the father to the world and he's helping all these people, but you still have to be a sacrifice.
Right.
So it's like that was something that I learned at an early age and I'm not upset. I understand. That's just the way the chips fell.
You didn't sign up for that.
No.
His energy's going out to everybody and there's not so much left over for you.
Yeah, but I was actually okay. Like I wasn't that close to my dad. So I wasn't like, oh, where's daddy? It's just that this is what it was, and it's fine. So I understand that he had a calling to do certain things, but that's just a part of my story and why things kind of.
How's your mom doing now?
She's good. She's good. She's
She with that guy still?
No. He's out of there. I was planning his death. Yeah. I was like, we're gonna fix those brakes, and then the car's just gonna roll down on the PCH. So that never ended up happening because he got out of there. But she's good. She's I'm watching her journey. You know, she's still, we're just so different as women, you know, so she's still on her journey, figuring things out for herself, but she's a psychologist. She went to school, you know, she's,
good.
Yeah, she's got her clients, so she's great.
Yeah. So what was the process of working through the anger? I mean, I assume boxing played some role in helping you get to the other side of that? You don't seem like an angry person.
I'm not.
So,
you know, and it's funny because I never thought about the process of working through the anger, but off of the top of my head, definitely boxing had something to do with it because it was a big outlet for me because I always was a fighter. Like I said, for some reason, I always wanted to fight and prove that I was strong. You know, I took pride in that. I remember being a kid and, Mom, I can help you move that, you know, trying to pick up cabinets and just show how strong I was. I don't know what that was.
It's got to be some weird genetic thing.
It's weird.
Right?
It's very weird because I'm telling you, my husband now is like, why are you always talking about fighting? But
have you ever did you ever ask your dad, like, why did he decide to fight at the very beginning? Like, did you feel like he shared that same
it was so
impulse?
No, he's so different than me in that my dad would never have a street fight. Like my dad would never want to, you know, go there. Like whenever you saw him like taunting his opponents, he was just playing. It was all for show. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, I'm a little different where I really have like more of a evil, mean streak when it needs to come out. So he started fighting because somebody stole his bike. He was mad about it. And the trainer was like, I'm going to get those guys. Like, well, do you know how to fight? Well, come in here, young man. And I was like, oh, and then he kind of fell into it that way. Whereas I more so was angry and mad. And then I saw women's boxing on television for the first time and was like, oh my God, I didn't even know women box. I didn't know that it was a possibility.
How could you not know that?
Nobody knew.
Yeah.
It was because this female, Christy Martin, was on Mike Tyson's undercard back then. And it was the first time millions of people saw women's boxing, including myself.
Was it the first televised
Yes, it was the first.
match?
Yes, it was the first. I don't want to say 100%. I'm sure on that, but I know it was the first big televised that anyone would have been watching. But so she was the co-main event. So people were watching, I was watching, and I was like, I want to do that. And then it took me about a year of contemplation to actually start.
Yeah, as the story goes, you were like with friends watching this, and you had like it's this light bulb moment, right? And you're like, I'm going to do that.
I remember like it was yesterday. I was like,
and you're like 18, right?
At the time, I was probably 17. Yeah, 17-ish going on. I was 18. I'm sorry. I was 18, yeah.
Hadn't played any sports or anything like that.
Never played sports, was not in shape. I probably was about 30 pounds heavier than I needed to be because, you know, it's all about weight class and being at your best. Didn't know what it would take. So that night, I was like, I want to do that. I thought it through and everything. Then I went home and the fear and the doubt and the what are you thinking? And because remember, I had already been through the whole juvenile hall stint and got myself back on track. I had a nail salon, I had a business. I was in school. I was living on my own. I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to start all these businesses. And, you know, I was just at the beginning. So for me and then I'm a planner and I do what I say I'm going to do. So I had said, this is what I was going to do. So how am I going to change that? What's everyone going to think? That's crazy. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be a public person. I never did. So that was just an inner conflict in itself.
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible for you to step into that and not just attract the white hot spotlight of everything.
And that was going to be a requirement in order to be successful. So remember, I always think about what do I need to do in order to make this be successful? I didn't want to just box just to be doing it for fun. Otherwise, I would have done it for a hobby. If I'm going to dedicate my life to this, I need to be successful at it, which means I need to be a winner. I need to be undefeated. I need to make money at it. I need to think about, because that's just the smart way to approach anything.
Yeah.
So,
but the traditional trajectory would be, all right, you're going to do a few fights. You're going to figure out, like, you're going to make mistakes. Like, you can, most people, you know, can anonymously, like, work their way up to get to a certain point. But from day one, everybody's going to be paying attention to you and the criticism and everything that goes with that.
Well, my pro debut, put it like this, was off television because you want to, I definitely don't want to fight on TV. And there was 80 different media outlets there, just ready to report. This is my first time ever stepping into a ring ever. And, you know, you go into it, your trainer, your manager, your handlers, they're all like, okay, she says she's going to do this. She says she's going to knock this girl out. But what's she going to do when those lights come on and that crowd's there and her dad's in the audience with all this pressure? You never know until you actually go out there and do it. So then I knocked the girl out in 54 seconds. And I was like, bam, we're off to a good start here.
And then it's just off to the races with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, I think almost everybody would assume that, okay, you're going to get into boxing. So first phone call, dad, who's the trainer, compile this team of people, the best people in the world to do this. But you did this completely without your dad's knowledge, right? Like you're trying to find these people on your own.
Yeah, well, I did. And my father wasn't in the boxing business, so he wouldn't have been the best person to ask anyway. But if he didn't know, he would have known someone who knew.
Right, of course.
And then the thing is that with boxing, you have a lot of people, with anything, you have a lot of people who are supposedly the people who know and have the right answer, but they don't always, and they have agendas. So for me,
a lot of that.
Yeah, it's all that. So for me, it was like I wasn't going to trust them anyway. It's like I'd rather make my own mistakes because, I already know the game. So for me, luckily I found my ex-husband who was a former fighter, and we started dating, and he knew so much more than me. He had been a world champion. And I remember I was training with a guy he was like, first things first, we can't train with this guy. He's just not at the level of, the trainer you need to be with skill-wise and experience-wise. So that was the first change. And then eventually I moved to Las Vegas. I started training with Roger Mayweather, who's Floyd Mayweather's uncle, and Floyd Sr., and then Buddy McGirt. These are all top trainers. So those throughout my career. And then, so I learned and upped my level as I needed to, but the guy, Dub Huntley, who I had in LA, was perfect for the beginning in terms of just, not the one I originally had first, but the second one. He, as far as getting my base. And then it was time to kind of step it up a notch. And that's when I moved.
So from 17 or 18, when you first see this fight on TV, to that first fight where you knocked this person out, how much time went by?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. So I saw her on TV. It took me about a year to start training. And then I trained for a whole year before I went pro. And I'm talking about after school, after work, 8 o'clock at night, every night. And I look forward to it. And it was so grueling. So, my whole body changed. I had to change the way that I ate. I was like, what is it going to take to be a world champion? Because I wanted to be a world champion and my goal was to be undefeated. So,
and how many female professional boxers were there at that time?
I would say about 1,500. There were some,
more than I would have thought.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot, and there's a lot more now because women's boxing is now in the Olympics. Yeah, it wasn't when I was fighting. But my weight class, which was 168 pounds, is big for a woman. There wasn't a lot of females. So my whole career, I struggled with finding fights that were going to be, give me a challenge, and that's one of the reasons I retired. I just there was like the same 3 girls that I wanted to fight that wouldn't fight me, but then they said I wouldn't fight them.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of back and forth about
Oh my
that.
God. I swear I've lost so much sleep over that. And I was just like, I'm tired of this, so what can I do? I just retired. There's so many other things that I wanted to do that I knew I could do well. Boxing was like, I got that out of my system. So it was like time to move on.
Well, 24-0, you pretty much took every belt, right? Like every championship or whatever, retire on top. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't really done.
What else was there to do?
I mean, I don't like ever having people out there lingering to be, she never fought this girl. Because I know eventually there's going to be documentaries made on me.
So there was,
and it's like, that's going to be part of it.
You were saying, I'll fight anyone. They're saying she won't fight me, but it kind of boiled down to negotiations and people backing out over money and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is that to fight me I'm the big name, right? So everyone was like, that's going to be my payday. So then what people didn't realize, I wasn't even making that much money. I was making a whole lot more than them, but in my mind, in my world, it wasn't a whole lot of money. I was making more money outside of boxing in terms of endorsements and things. But when they finally got their opportunity and they're like, $100,000, I thought I was going to get $1 million. Then it's just like, wait a minute, I don't want to risk to get this ass whooping for that.
Right.
You see what I mean? Then it was like, one girl in particular, she'd rather go down in history as the one I was afraid to fight, opposed to actually getting there, because she knew behind the scenes, she knew who the top dog was. Like me and her, like the woman wouldn't even look me in the eye. So it was just like she had this fear of me, but then she's got this persona because when someone looks mean and big and bad, and then the pretty girl must be the one who's afraid, and so she's just kind of rode that story into the sunset.
When you were fighting, do you, if you watch yourself on tape, are there similarities in style with your dad, or did you have a totally different?
Oh, there's definitely similarities. Approach. Similarities just naturally because of our build. So just the way kind of my weight and muscles distributed were built a lot alike. So when you're tall and you have long arms, you're going to use your jab, you're going to fight a certain way, you're going to move around the ring. And then the natural ability to be able to move and my speed, all was God-given and like from my father. So that was what I would say we have most in common is the confidence for one. It's just like through the roof. Like I literally felt like I'm going to win this fight with every cell in my body for sure. There was no doubt about it. It was just, and it wasn't something I said. It's something I truly believed. So it was like, I knew that. It's just a matter of, can I go in here and do the things that I've been working on? You know, as an athlete, the things that you know that you need to perfect, I want to go in there and do. And I don't know what round is going to happen, but I know that I'm going to win this fight. So that, I think, is one thing. And even learning more about my dad and watching videos, he wasn't even as confident as I was. But
that's interesting.
It's because you have to take into consideration he's fighting bigger, stronger men. I didn't have that situation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the talent pool is a little different.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't just say it's hard to say, but I never felt like I've heard him say, like I was scared, and I never felt that. But there was a difference there. In
once the ball was rolling and you're winning all these fights, does dad come in and say, here, try this, do that? Like, is he peppering you with like insights or he just let you do your thing?
No, he didn't do that at all. The only thing he did was, because his thing was a jab, and that's what most fighters do. They'll try to show you what they did best. So it was just like, just you got to have your jab fast. And he was just saying it in general, not that it wasn't fast, but he was just like, you need to hit the bag and act like there's a fly on the bag and you're trying to hit it before it flies away. And I was like, okay, that's a good one. You know what I mean? So just that that's how fast your jab needs to be. But not everyone can do it, even if they want to do it.
Right.
So yeah.
And was your training like, is it different for female boxers than it is for men? Is the training exactly the same?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not different at all. It's the same. So it's just like, I don't know if it's different for running for women as it is for men.
No, probably not. No,
not at all. So the thing is with women, especially larger women, I trained against men. So I sparred against men.
Right.
Not that you always have to, but for me, that's what it ended up being. Because you bring in you'd be like, okay, who can I spar with? And bring this girl in from out of town and keep, come to training camp for 2 weeks. After taking a beating day after day, they start wearing down and they're not a help to me anymore. So then it was like, okay, let me just start sparring with just guys. And it kind of, you just faded out the women altogether. And you have to find the balance because men are always going to be stronger than women.
Yeah.
So then it was like, okay, I'm going to spar with a 145 pounder, even though I'm 168. And he still can't try to kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have to find that balance. So you got to find someone who's super skilled enough to where, because if you get a fighter that doesn't have a lot of experience, as soon as I crack them, they're going to get mad and they're not going to be able to control themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like,
Yeah, I had Frank Shamrock in here, MMA fighter, and he has this rule. It's called plus minus zero, something like that, which basically means you have to spread your efforts with different kinds of people. So you spar with the person who's just a little bit better than you, and then you're with the person who's perfectly matched for you. And then you work with someone who's not as good as you, like you're sort of paying it forward to that person. And when you have that blend of those three things, that's like his equation for, progressing efficiently.
That works. I mean, I haven't ever broke it down in that way, but for the most part, yeah, you do. So if I've been in there with people who weren't as good as me, and I'm going to take it easy on them, but at the same time, I'm going to take chances that I wouldn't normally take with somebody else.
Yeah.
You see, so in this, like, it's having discipline, because you can say, I'm only going to jab no matter what, no matter how hard that other person's going. And I, in the back of my mind, always have my right hand, which is hard, which is going to stop you. Like, if I want you to get off of me, I'm going to hit you with that. And then you're going to be like, whoa. But if I can't do that, now I got to move. I have to use my feet. I have to be smart. I have to do other things. So yeah, it's a balance.
And did you do the weight cut thing too after the weigh-in and all that?
I didn't. So
you're just at 166, 168, right? You just stay there.
168. I'm not that anymore. I'm 200 pounds a day, but 168, was my weight. And early on in my career, I used to come in at like 164, 165, easy. I didn't have to lose weight because I was a lean, strong 164, Right. But a lot of times, say if you're a man and the lighter weights you fight at, you have not as much power to deal with. You want to try to come down as small as you can, because that's what everyone else is doing. So that's why they would cut weight. Whereas, because if you're walking around at 175 and you try to fight at 175 as a man, you're probably fighting guys who are really 215 and came down. So I didn't have to do that. I didn't really. Now, as I got older, I started coming around 175 because your body just changes, and it was harder for me to make 168. And I remember having weeks. The week of the fight, I had to lose 10 pounds. So it was just like then at that point, you're like it's water weight for the most part. But
was it ever close? I mean, 24-0. Did you just like waltz through all these people?
No, I've had some tough fights. I had some tough fights, and especially I fought with the flu 4 times. And of course, while I was fighting, nobody knew. But I was like on death's door, like when you have 102 temperature. And I was like,
full on fever fighting?
Full on fever.
Oh my
full
God.
on fever. Like just weak, like by the second round. I remember I fought Joe Frazier's daughter, Jackie Frazier. And I was sick for that fight.
Might have been a little press about that.
Yeah, I was sick and nobody knew. And it was funny because our husbands were co-promoting the fight, my ex-husband. And I was no way I was going to pull out. And I was just like, okay, she's nothing. This is going to be an easy fight. So I was like, I can still fight her sick. So you get mentally ready, and I felt fine, and I got in there, and by the third round, she was tougher than I thought she was going to be. I was weaker than I thought I was going to be. I literally, by the third round, was like, okay, this is jacked up. So then like I would go back to my corner, and I wouldn't even sit down. I was like, if I sit down, I'm not going to get back up. So I was like winning the fight, but I definitely would have stopped her, like, probably by the 4th round, but I didn't have the power. So that fight went the distance, and I won. And then I regret not having a rematch though for that fight.
I would think that would be a fight that there'd be a lot of pressure to have a rematch.
And I didn't, and it was because of me. Because I didn't have a rematch clause, and I didn't want to fight her in the first place because it was right in that time when everyone wasn't really taking me serious. Why is she doing this? And then her career was inspired by mine. She started, and then it became like a side show.
It's like a Rocky movie.
Yeah, and it
like
just
the
felt
kids are gonna. Yeah,
I was like, she's not serious. I'm serious. That's how I felt, and I was like, but I had to fight her because it was like, why wouldn't you? And then people wanted to see it. There was money there, but I was like, after that fight, I said I wanted to fight girls who have titles. I'm ready to start fighting real champions. So I was so adamant about that I was like, no, I'm not doing this again. But I wish that I would have because, first of all, it would have just been smart business. I just had, like I said, I had something to prove and I let that get in the way.
Well, having something to prove and then having all this press about like, oh, she's just, the daughter and like having to live in that shadow, I would imagine allowed you to kind of tap into that anger, and unleash that in the ring.
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't just use that. I use like the anger that I feel for kids that are abused, for sex trafficking, whatever it is that just all these things that go on in our world that just chip away at you. Like when you're watching the news and you're just like, God, it's just like, what can you do about it? Like, what can you really do about it? You just I feel anyway, like, and I'm saying I'm talking about now, but back then, whatever was going on back then and during those times, I would just kind of make this moment bigger than being just about myself. Like I'm going in here to fight for the world. So whatever you can do mentally, it's like it really made me feel like a beast, like a monster. Like I'm going in here to fight this girl. I'm not going to face a war. Nobody's gonna hit me from behind my head. I see her. She's right in front of me. She's got 2 hands just like me, and I'm gonna be the winner. Period. So it's just like when you're coming in there, like you know what I mean. It was just like
Well, that's that speaks to the Ali legacy. I mean, the idea of making it about something more than you, right? And I mean, nobody was better than your dad, about really using his platform to, call into question certain conventional wisdoms and to speak truth to power and to be as, genuine and authentic and as honest as he possibly could be for the betterment of people and things that extended far beyond boxing.
Absolutely. And he was in a position where he was forced to have to do it, in terms of just everything he was up against, with going to the war and fighting against going to the war and the civil rights movement, all these things that he had right there at his doorstep that he had to face. So I didn't have that situation. So I never told anybody. Those were my secret things of what I take to get into my, Supergirl suit, you know what I mean, to go in there and fight. I can talk about it now, but it was a little, it was a little different. But yeah, that same thing that's in him is in me. And I think that anyone who does anything where they feel like they're doing it for other people and for a bigger cause understands that. People who are working for nonprofit organizations and all this hard work that isn't easy. It's like, if it was just you, maybe if it was just for you, maybe you would quit or give up. But you're like, I can't. So.
Yeah. I mean, in the movie, what I didn't realize or I didn't fully appreciate was just how bold a move it was for him to, speak out against the war and opt out of that whole thing. And you see all the other African-American athletes who are hesitant about that. And there wasn't the solidarity that I think in my mind I thought was actually taking place during that time.
There were certain athletes that finally stepped up. But I mean, and I say this now, it's like you can't expect everyone to be like Muhammad Ali because, most people, not just athletes, don't want to put their livelihood on the line. They don't want to, at the time, they don't want to put their safety, the safety of their family on the line, especially if it's not something they truly feel they can make a difference. You have to first feel like this sacrifice is going to make a change, because there's a lot of people that speak out and try to make sacrifices and they feel like it doesn't really change anything. But now they're out of a job and they're out of their money and their kids are, in danger or whatever the case may be. So, everyone's going to do things my dad is special. He's a special human being. You know what I mean? He's not just, it's like, you know what I mean? You can't expect anyone else to be like him, but there were certain athletes that got behind him, which was great.
So how do you kind of carry that mantle forward? Like, how do you, exude, his legacy and try to, continue to, breathe life into it through the things and the things you do and the choices that you make?
It takes a balance for me. I mean, it's like now my father's passed away. He's not here anymore. I think about that more. Because before that, it was kind of like, what am I going to do? Like I said, for me in my life, and a lot of it naturally happened. The things that I care about, I don't want it to be a burden on me, because as great as my father was and amazing, all the changes he made in the world, I still have my life to live.
Yeah. You know the real guy when the cameras aren't on.
Oh man. So come on. Like that's what he shaped my view of people. Like, okay, these people are looking up to this guy. No, I'm just joking. Yeah. But, none of us are perfect, but I'm just saying I am really passionate about health and wellness and encouraging people to be the absolute best version of themselves, similar to what you're into doing. And this becomes very natural to me. I've done it myself. I'm still doing it myself. It's an ongoing process. And I try to, this confidence that I have that I wish I could put it in a bottle, is something I was born with. But I wish that for everyone that they had enough self-love, because I think that's what it really comes down to, is confidence starts with self-love. And you have to love yourself enough to know that you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Like I was just saying a few minutes ago, my father, being as amazing as he is, he wasn't nowhere near perfect. So as a kid, I watched that. I saw his mistakes. I know all the things about him that are like, what? Crazy, But he still is this amazing human being. So I'm like, if he's not perfect, nobody is. You know what I mean? So first you just have to know that, because most people are afraid to go after the things they really want to do, to say the things they really want to feel, to really, find their purpose, because they're afraid of screwing up. They're afraid of what people are going to say. And it's like, when you don't have that feeling, the possibilities are limitless.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard, and just looking at your dad as an example, like he wasn't afraid to say he wasn't ever afraid to say what he thought, no matter what people thought. Like he was completely divorced from public opinion about his behavior and his actions. And that's, what's so inspiring and empowering about his example. And I think most people walk around, myself included, second guessing myself. And I think there's an epidemic of people just feeling like they're not enough, and there's a lot of pressure, especially in the digital Instagram age, of measuring ourselves against other people or the, public facing image of other people. And it's very easy to just feel like, what do I have to contribute? And I can't make a difference. And how can I be, how can I excel in all these different categories? There's all these expectations and pressures on me, and it's impossible. So people just retreat into their self-loathing.
I know. And I mean, I see it all the time. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, one of the things that I want to do, and when you ask me carrying on the torch, and I'm like, okay, so what can I do? Obviously, I'm already doing, through my website, LailaAli.com, and through my speaking and through my products, and just my whole Laila Ali Lifestyle brand is empowering people to be the best they can be. And I'm talking about, I start with nutrition and food, but it's about empowering your mindset, empowering your purpose, empowering your health, replenishing all those things. But then I want to go deeper. So I actually want to do a process that people can download to kind of find that confidence. So that's something that I obviously wouldn't be able to do by myself. Right now, it's just an idea, but it's something that I really want to do. And I really want to start with young girls, and women, and then kind of just go from there. So it's just an idea that I have, because I think that is the basis of what you said, is that self-love and, really just accepting yourself for who you are. First, you have to do it before anybody else will. Then just kind of moving on from there. So
So what does that process look like for you?
For me?
Yeah, like how, I mean, if you were to like, I know it's just an idea at this point, but if you were to like hash out like, all right, here's how I would take somebody through a process of helping them to do that in their own life.
I think that it definitely is going to be a series of, items, things that you're going to read, things you're going to download, workbooks to work things out, because you have to figure out a lot of things within yourself, and people have to be ready to put that mirror in front of them. That's the one thing that you need to do first. So, working with other individuals who, because the thing for me, my struggle is I'm naturally confident.
Right. So it's like,
so how can you tell someone?
That.
How can you just tell someone? But there are things that I'm not as confident about. So, so I can relate to certain things. Like, people would think that, like I said, when I go into the ring, I'm winning this fight. No question about it. But I'm not that way with everything else. So like for now, I have to challenge myself, because other opportunities always come up for me. And then I'll be like, for example, someone would say, oh, we want you to come speak at this college or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even finish school. Like, what am I going to say to them? Then I get a little insecure. Like, why would I go up there and talk? And then I'll like, no, I don't want to do it. And then my business partner pushed me, no, you need to go do this. And I'm like, I have fear. I'm like, no, I don't want to go do it. Because I'm not that smart when it comes to book smarts. I'm like, so I have a insecurity there, like literally. Like, I don't want to go on trivia, shows or game shows or things like that, because I don't want people to know how much I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Like, really, like, I'm like, because I missed out on a lot of school. So like, that is an insecurity of mine. So
what's the solution for you for that? To say yes to that stuff?
Yeah, not all of it.
Yeah.
Not all of
smart
it.
Here.
Yeah. But definitely I have to say, like I tell my friends, I'm like, F fear, like just do it. Just take a chance. So sometimes that's what I have to do. I have to just say, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to put it out there. And then once I've done it, I'll be like, oh, okay. I can process it and say, I'm not going to do it again. Or at least I did it that one time, or I learned something I didn't know about myself. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, self-love begins with self-acceptance. And I like what you said about the mirror. Like, you got to be able to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable to yourself. And I think, I think it begins with understanding that fundamentally, most people seek that through external inputs. Like, if I can get that person to date me, or if I can get that car or that job or whatever, that's going to solve the problem. And the truth is, that's the wrong way to look at it. Like, it begins with the inside. You have to turn that gaze inward and start to, deconstruct whatever's going on inside of you and unpack, like, whether it's childhood trauma or whatever your repetitive, behavior patterns that hold you back are. Just fully understanding those and accepting yourself for having those, I think, is the beginning of trying to work through them to get to the other side. We're
so complex as human beings. It's like I can be watching this podcast and be inspired and go, man, I want to do that, and then it's just like, it's really about working on certain things and being focused and consistent with it. It's like, you can't think of everything all at once, or it just becomes overwhelming and nothing gets done. So it's just like,
how about like just not going to Burger King for your next meal? Like, let's start there.
Right? Well, I remember I met this gentleman on the airplane, and he was like 400 pounds overweight, and we just got to talking. I talked to him for the whole flight. It was like a 5-hour flight. By the end of the flight, he talked about his struggles, his ups and downs, and why he wasn't able to lose weight. And I said, look, what are you going to go eat after you get off this plane? Let's just be honest. And he's like, I'm going to go get like 2 quarter pounders, a large fry, and a large supersized drink. I was like, okay, can you go get 1 quarter pounder, a fry, and a medium drink? And he's like, I mean, do you really think you can do that? He was like, yeah, I think I can do that. I said, then just start there.
That's a win.
Just start there. I said, and then, then get to where you can get a small fry, and then get to where can you eat a salad before you go get, like, a lot of times we think about all these things we need to stop doing. And my thing is like, okay, for those people who really just feel like they just keep failing all the time, it's almost like they subconsciously expect to fail because they haven't been able to get past certain things they're trying to do. So instead of thinking about all the things you have to take away, what can you add? Like, don't even think about taking anything away. Just can you get a smoothie in for breakfast? And then if you're still hungry, go ahead and have that cinnamon roll, whatever. You know what I mean? And then can you just get a green salad before your meal? Can you drink a glass of water? Okay, let's just start adding these things. Stop thinking about what we need to take away. Then they start, first of all, they're going to feel fuller. They're going to get some nutrients. They're going to start cutting out, some of the other food that they eat. Let's just start with that. Right. Like, let's not, because there's just so many things. Oh, you just need to do this to be healthy. You just need to do that. You need to do that. It's very overwhelming, So that works well for a lot of people that I've worked with.
Yeah, I think the more granular you can make it, and you break these things down that are so overwhelming that it just prevents people from ever even beginning into the smallest, little chunks, then it becomes digestible. And, self-esteem comes with performing esteemable acts, and that applies to, service to others, but it also applies to service to ourselves, right? And so, if that guy, like, hey, can you take the stairs and not the escalator when you get off the plane, or just like just like one thing. And once you do that, you're like, oh, I did that. I can do that next time too. I feel a bit better than I would if I had done that other thing. So now you feel more energized and more emotionally connected to the process, and you're more likely to make that better choice the next time around as well. And then that stuff builds.
Exactly.
And I think, I've said this many times before, but I think people overestimate the progress that they can make in a month or 6 months, and they wildly underestimate the progress that they can make in a year. So that guy on the plane, if he just did tiny little things, but he was consistent about it, like a year from now, maybe he's lost 100 pounds. Like, he's not done, but he's like on his way. And he did it in a way where it didn't even feel that painful because it was so gradual. That's
what I'm always saying. I'm like, 6 months from now, you're either going to be healthier and have lost weight, or you're going to be the same, or you're going to have gained weight. So it's like, just make these small changes, and you're going to look up. I just, even for myself, I fall off the wagon sometimes because I was healthy 10 years ago and I'm healthier now, because the obvious things I did, when I first started boxing, I was like, okay, you got to eat healthier, but I still didn't really understand quality of food and organic food and non-GMOs and all those things. I wasn't at that level yet, but it was like I was always on this quest to get better. You just want to make sure you're trying to get better, and you're actually starting some sort of a process. There's going to be mistakes along the way. You're going to, find out new information. All these people that try all these different eating styles are trying to figure out what works for them, what they can actually, do for the rest of their life. But it's going to change even then. Like, I can't eat the same way that I did 5 years ago, even, as your body changes, as you get older, you just have different needs.
I think the self-love applies to accepting yourself for making those mistakes too, because I think people set themselves up for long-term failure when they have a slip up or they make a mistake, and then they just give up. They're like, well, it's too hard. It's like, no, that's just feedback, like, oh, let's try to figure out why you made that choice. Maybe you don't make it next time, and just be more gentle on yourself and a little bit more permissive of those mistakes, and use it all as a learning experience, as opposed to, a cane to smack yourself with.
I just love that there's so many resources people have now for help, because, it's like you can listen to this one conversation and try to go do this by yourself, and then you don't have that voice in your, and that support, like what you just said. It's like people need to hear that on a regular basis, because you're going to slip up and you're going to have issues. You're going to need to reset. You're going to need to remind yourself, because then life happens. You know what I mean? It's like, I start off like, I'm going to do this, and that, and I'm doing it. And then at some point I stop, and then like months go by and look back, oh God, I stopped doing that because something happened that took my attention.
Right.
That
when you interrupt the momentum.
Yeah. Just like, and then I'm like, oh wait, oh God, I got to get back on that, So
what do you think holds people back the most?
Fear. And that's going to be so many things, fear, and then probably just their habits. Like you just have a habit, things that they just can't let go of, and like I just answered that off the top of my head. But that definitely holds people back from following their dreams, following their heart, taking chances, fear.
Yeah.
And then in terms of just reaching their goals, and a lot of what you talk about is health and wellness goals, is just their habits, and we have to, like, it's like we want to be gentle, but at the same time, you need to give yourself a kick in the ass sometimes. I have to do it sometimes. Like when I'm, when I fall off and I'm having more sugar than I need to have, it's just like, you girl, stop it. Like I have a coach in my own head though, just stop. Like, I don't like feeling like I can't be in control of myself and my own actions. So it's like, but that's the thing. That's my thing. Not everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
But it's like, when I start feeling like, wait a minute, I just put that in my mouth. I didn't even think about it. It's just, now I ate it and I was like, I didn't even want to eat that, but I was stressed out. And I had a weak moment and it was around and I like it, so then it was just like, boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that's when I'm like, okay, you're not going to do that again, and I like set a boundary for myself. But it's like,
you'll probably do it again.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's like we're human beings, it's like, yes, the only thing that we have control over are our actions and our reactions. Right.
Right.
But I think more often than not, that's like running on, our unconscious mind is controlling most of that most of the time. And the more mindful and kind of rooted in the present that we can be, then we're more aware of when we're reflexively like doing those kinds of things. But it's hard. And I think we have this sense that we can control our environments better than we actually can. We really can't. There's people and variables and things happen. And I think people sort of set these goals or begin these trajectories to, improve themselves in some various way. And there'll be some interceding event that interferes with like their plan. And they're like, well, I can't do it. And it's like, but that's just the way the world works. Like you got to learn how to roll with that shit if you want to stay in it. And staying in it is the winning strategy. What
I do is I expect that there's going to be some kind of a disruptor, not in a negative way, like, because you don't want to just be negative about everything, but in terms of, like, I like to just know things are going to happen. So when they happen, it's not that big of a deal to me. It's like, I'm going to jump over that. I'm going to swerve. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to stay. It's like a game,
Right.
So of just staying on track. So I know that everyone has a different way of thinking. But like you said, you can't control anyone else. You can only control your own actions and how you respond to certain situations. And I like to take responsibility for my own actions. So when things don't go my way or something happens, I always think, what could I have done differently? Even if it comes down to something someone else did and someone can say, well, no, that wasn't on you, that was on them. I'm like, but I might have chose to put that person in the picture in my life.
Yeah.
Let me think why I did that and how I can prevent those, because those red flags were there. So I can still bring it back to the choice I made, and just try to figure, that's how serious I am about it. Like I try to figure out, okay, how can I just change things? But then again, I can't get too caught up in that also because I can't be in that much control all the time. So that's the mind of a control freak,
But you can always do an inventory. You can always, no matter, how many people tell you were right and they were wrong.
Right.
I guarantee you that you contributed to whatever happened in some way. And the more skilled you can become at identifying what your part is, because I think that's another thing where our unconscious mind takes over and we're like, I didn't do anything wrong. And you need other people in your life to call you on that stuff and say, actually, here's what you keep doing all the time and you're not even aware that you're doing it. And that's why you keep ending up in these shitty situations.
Right. And if you don't want to call it wrong, just what can you do differently to have a different outcome? You keep doing the same thing, you're gonna have the same outcome. And we hear it all the time. It's like, okay, why are you doing? Don't you think maybe you should try? Like, just try.
Easy for you, Laila. It's easy for you. You're this and that and the other thing. Like you don't understand my problems,
right?
You know. And it's tough to break through out of that. I'm sympathetic to that. But so, all right. So you conclude your boxing career, and now you're like in this. You're this like wellness entrepreneur. Like, how did that come about? Like, how did you decide, like, this is the avenue I want to pursue?
So when I retired from boxing, went through what most athletes go through when they retire. It's just kind of, what am I going to do now, right? Because I did what I loved and what I was passionate about, and I put my all into. And it took me about 5 or 6 years to really figure that out, because I was, I had all these opportunities with TV hosting and all that, but I wasn't really fulfilled. And I don't even love being on TV. It's like something I do because I know I need to do, but I'm not like that person like, I want to be on TV, It's just good for business, but I realize I'm really passionate about helping people with their health and their wellness. I'm writing out meal plans for friends and always helping people. And I was like, how can I make this a business for myself, or this something that I can really focus on? And that's when I started Laila Ali Lifestyle Brand, and I started my website and my blog. And, I had a podcast at one time, and I came out with my cookbook, Food for Life. Now I have Laila Ali Spice Blends, which are like my baby. I brought some for you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
I'm so excited about those. And then I have a nutrition line called Uplenish. So, and I'm very hands-on. When I say hands-on, I'm talking about down to I'll go Google and be like, let me find the organic spice company, and I'll call them up and say, what's the minimum order? And I'm like dealing with these people when it comes to my labels and everything, because I wanted to really approach it like any other entrepreneur who was just starting. And I'm also, I don't like to wait on people. So when I want to answer, I'll get it from myself. So that's why I do most things myself. Cause I want to just pick up the phone and call right now. Not only that, there's no blueprint to what it is that what I'm trying to do. So, when it came to the spice blends, even, it was just like, I was like, who can I call that's done this before?
Yeah.
That can help me and not look at me as Laila Ali, like look at me as just a regular female entrepreneur, because then it's like, oh, we can put you with this person and they can, then they want to be a part of the deal, and then it becomes something it's not. And I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to have to answer anyone. So that's been a fun quest for me, because I'm making a lot of mistakes along the way. We talk about mistakes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And it took me like 5 years to finally get my spice blends packaged and ready to sell. So they're up online. And the spice blends were so important to me because ever since I was 9 years old, I've been cooking. And when I told you we moved to Malibu, and, I had the dysfunctional childhood, we had a house. There was a big house, and it was a guest house and a house connected. So my sister and I lived in the guest house. We had our own kitchen. My mom didn't cook, and I learned to cook at an early age. And I was always really good at flavoring food, seasoning food. So that's really what makes the difference between people's recipes, So I had a real talent for that, balancing flavors. I've even competed on Chopped.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. I've competed.
Wow.
I competed on Chopped and won twice.
You did? You won?
I won.
Oh, I didn't know
twice.
that.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm Chopped champion.
You're legit.
I'm proud of that. Yeah, and it was the flavors. It was the seasoning, and so I started the spice blends because I think that anyone can take plants, vegetables, and if you have a good seasoning, then you can make them taste amazing. So I have organic, non-GMO spice blends, and I'm gonna add to the line, and so I feel it was a real accomplishment.
That's cool. Did you teach yourself how to cook, or how did you learn how to do that?
I pretty much taught myself. I called my grandma a couple times and said, "Grandma," my grandma's from Louisiana. I was like, I remember the first time I was making a gumbo. I was like, "How do you make roux?" And she told me over the phone, and I just perfected it from then on. So I've called her over the phone. I've learned a lot, just like a lot of people do, watching on TV, as a kid. And, but most of the cooking is all on my own. But I'm not, I'm definitely just a home cook. Like I'm not, and I don't bake because that's something you really have to know what you're doing. It's the science behind it.
Yeah, it's a specific thing.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. But cooking, I throw down.
You got your hands on a lot of stuff. It reminds me, do you know John Sally?
I do.
Yeah, he's like, guys all over the place. Every time I see him, he's got some new business. He's got the vegan wines, and he's got the cannabis company, and he's got, it's crazy. Like he has so much energy, and he's so passionate about so many different things, and has this entrepreneurial spirit, and he keeps giving birth to like all these different, a lot of it's nutrition oriented, but like even other things as well.
Yeah, I don't have that much going on. That's not me. No, I don't have that much. Yeah, I'm like, I got the spice blends. So I have Laila Ali Lifestyle, and then I believe in, with me, I've had shakes since I was boxing. I'd have a smoothie or a shake because it was just like, okay, how can I get all this nutrition in without actually having to eat, give my body a break from breaking the food down. So after I'd go running in the morning, I'd get up, run the mountains, come back, I'd have a shake. So after I did all that work, I'm not going to make my body work again to digest food. Then I go to sleep. Then I'd wake up and have my breakfast. And then I'd have another shake after I worked out again. So I've been doing shakes so long. So even now I have a shake for breakfast because it's like, I don't want to have to think about my maca powder and my green powder, all these things and all these nutrients. I'd rather just get it all in my shake. Know I got it in.
One thing.
Yeah, and then everything else is just on top of that. So that's why, for me, that's one of the easiest ways for people who aren't currently getting the nutrition they need is like, okay, why don't you just have a shake, and just make sure it's in there and then it's not so overwhelming and just make that part of your daily nutrition. So, and then just the basics like vitamins, green powders. I have a 14-day cleanse for a lot of people who just need to cleanse that all that out that's not coming out. So, the nutrition is one thing, but then the cooking is just teaching people that, food doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just like, but we definitely want to have amazing flavors when we do eat.
We've lost our connection with cooking in so many ways. Like people are just busy, man. Our lives are so fast paced now that people don't learn how to cook, and then it just becomes intimidating. And you just think, well, I never learned how to do that, and I probably never will. And the truth is, most of it's pretty simple.
Food,
you learn pretty quickly.
Yeah, they don't know how, and a lot of times just don't want to take the time because, like you said, it seems so overwhelming. But like literally, it's like when you learn how easy it is, especially if you just want to throw something in the oven and roast, you can roast some veggies on a pan and season them up with a little bit of oil and you're done. It's like, then they're like, oh, okay, I get it. But even if for those who aren't cooking, it's like, at least when you do eat, get your food from somewhere that has quality food, so because some people just aren't going to stop and cook.
Yeah.
I love to cook, and I understand that food, the love that goes into cooking, the energy that goes into cooking. Like whenever you're at a restaurant, you don't know who's in the back of that kitchen cooking your food and what they're feeling, and they're mad and what's going on in their life, and they're there moving your food and giving it to you, and you're eating that energy. Like
putting
when you think about it, and like you're out eating
I believe in that.
No, I do too. I do too. That's why, like soul food, that's where that came about, when all the women in the kitchen, and the African American community, and they're sitting around, they're sitting there, and they're this family together, and you're chopping up the potatoes, and you're peeling this and doing that, and it's like all the love that goes into that is something,
Yeah.
So, and a lot of things have changed. We don't cook as much. We don't sit around the table and eat together.
I know.
We're not as healthy as we used to be. All this stuff is connected.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we can sit around and talk about, maca powder and green smoothies and things like that. But the real battlefield is trying to get people away from pulling into the drive-through.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking to that, population of people that are suffering from diabetes and obesity and heart disease at just alarming rates, like I feel like, we need more solutions and focus on trying to provide healthy nutrition and education and affordable solutions to people who have a good argument when they say, listen, I don't have time. I'm working 2 or 3 jobs and I don't have the budget. I can't go get all these healthy foods. And it's just, I've got a kid screaming in the back. I'm pulling through the drive-through, done. I've taken care of it.
Yeah, and you're talking about, especially in the African American community, which is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about, the educating that I do, because a lot of people, it's like they don't know, they just don't know better. They don't even realize that what they're eating a lot of time. People know, obviously, burgers and fries and pizza aren't healthy, but I'm talking about just even when they think they are eating something that's healthier, that's processed and has all these chemicals in it, and it's not even food. It's food-like. Yeah. And it's like somebody sitting around in the office trying to figure out what chemicals they can put in it to make you want it more and be addicted to it. You know what I mean? And it's like you really want to educate people about that, and then also teach them ways that
that fly just will not go away. I'm like watching it. Sorry about
no, it's okay. I know how that is. It got trapped in here with us. So you have people who, they say it to me all the time, well, I can't afford to eat that way, and it's like, okay, well, we need to figure out how we can eat. You don't have to have these, high-end meals every night. It's like, can you, even if it's rice and beans, there's a lot of nutrients in beans, and it's like, I'm a meat eater, but I have reduced the amount of meat that I eat for multiple reasons. But when I do eat, I eat, organic, GMO free range, all the highest quality I can get. But I'm always telling people also, it's like, reduce the amount of animal foods that you eat, you know?
Yeah.
And because not everybody, you know, is ready to go vegan,
Right.
you know? So it's just like, but you can get to the point where, you know, 75% of the food on your plate is plant-based food.
Yeah. I mean, setting the whole vegan thing aside, you know, people, you know, meat began as like a delicacy side dish. And at some point we decided that has to predominate our plates. And we just eat insane amounts of meat right now. And I just think there's no question that it's contributing to a lot of the problems. I mean, certainly processed food and sugar and all, I'm not dismissing any of that, but I think we could all benefit from reducing our intake.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, like I said, no matter, even if you're not a vegan or vegetarian, it's like, even if you're a meat eater like me, I think that you definitely need to reduce the amount. You don't need to be eating meat every single meal. You don't need to be eating it every single day. And when you do eat it, it should be a very small portion of meat, you know, on your plate. So
how's the, what does the fitness workout routine look like for you these days?
I mix it up. So right now, I'm really liking, so I have a heavy bag. I have a home gym. I usually hit the heavy bag for like 4 rounds, 15 minutes. And then that's like my warm up.
Yeah.
Then I will get on my, that's like my warm up. Yeah. And then I get on my elliptical stairs. And I'll get on my elliptical stairs, and I have a treadmill. So I might do like some, you know, high intensity training. Some sprinting on my treadmill, and then I have a infrared sauna. I like to incorporate that at the end of my workout.
Like a clear light one?
A sunlighten.
Oh, cool.
And I get in there for like 30 minutes after my workout. But then I might do some free weights. I like to mix it up, but I also love to run, but my knees aren't that good. So I'm like, you know, we all just are built different. So I've been told not to run, but I still run, you know, and I ice my knees, and it's just like, it's really hard. So like if I run, I can have not ran for 2 years, but I can go out there and just do 4 or 5 miles because it's just still in me. But by the end of 5 miles, I'm like, oh, I'm looking like that last mile. I'm looking like, okay, when's this going to be over? And I love running around here. Like I'll just go on Agora Road and just run straight up. You know,
the trails. Well, the trails at the end of Las Virgenes too, like all around.
Oh yeah, I don't like running in the mountains though.
You know,
I'm a little funny about
I'll take you out there.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm good. Then my husband, like, don't go out there by yourself.
Lines.
No, just period, just people out there, and you know, you just never know. And then I'm a recognizable person
all the time.
Oh well, then I'd go.
Come with me.
I'd go. I can't run as far as you though.
That's all right. We
You're
don't have to
one
go
of them, those I call them the crazy runners. I did the New York City Triathlon.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and that was crazy.
When did you do that? A couple years ago?
I was the mom ambassador for Aquaphor, and no, this was like probably 6 years ago.
Where they do it in the Hudson? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've never done a triathlon. I've never done anything. So I was just like, they asked me to do it, and I was like, yeah, I'm an athlete. I can do it. And so they put me with this triathlon trainer. She came out here for 2 days, and she was like, okay, we're going to get on the bike, because I'd never been on a bike to ride. So she's like, we rode up Agora Road, 25 miles. So we went 12 miles one way and then came back or something like that. And then we ran. I got off that bike, and just running a mile was so hard, just because I was just so, you know, like just
all buckled over,
locked up. So long story short, I ended up taking on this show, didn't train like I was supposed to. So I did the one bike ride with her.
Was it?
The 125-mile bike ride. And then I was swimming at Calabasas Tennis Clinic for 45 minutes. I was like, I'm just going to swim for 45 minutes. I went to the open water one time to the beach, and I was so nervous about it. My friends were like, come on. So we swam to the buoys, and I was like, I was afraid of sharks. I was like, I'm never doing that again. They were like, if you can get in this ocean, then you can go get in the Hudson. So when I got there, I was like, these people are crazy. Like, they were up with their bikes at 4 a.m., like walking to the water. It's like they're so serious about it.
It's a whole thing.
And everyone was like, if you do it one time, you're going to fall in love with it, and you're going to do it again. And I was like, we'll see. So I jumped in that Hudson, swam, did the run. I did the bike, and I was afraid to switch gears. Because I didn't really, like, the track would come off.
You literally
sometimes.
only rode a bike one time.
I literally one time.
So then you rode the triathlon in the same gear the whole time?
No, I changed. It was one side I was fooling with, but I wouldn't fool with the other side. So it was harder for me because I didn't know how to use a bike. Because I was like, if this chain comes off, I'm going to be on the side, and then it's going to be a whole thing. So I did it, but I finished in 3 hours and 4 minutes.
Good for you.
So I was
you did it.
I did it. And when I came off, like when I came through with the finish line, it was so crazy. All of a sudden, I blacked out. My eyes were open, but I blacked out. And I told my guy that was with me, I was like, Daryl, I can't see. So he held my hand. He was like, you're so hot. I was so hot. I went to the tents where you lay down, and it took about 30 seconds for my vision to come back. And I was just laying there for like being worked on, you know, rubbed out and all that for like an hour. And then I got up, and then all of a sudden I was super hungry, and they had donuts and all these things. And I was just like pigging out. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. I was like, I'm never doing that. I almost died.
You're going to fall in love. You're like,
I'm good.
It's usually one or the other. It's either like, I can't wait to do it again, or like, I did it. It's over with.
Oh my God. Yeah. I look at you like,
it's different. I can't punch anyone. So
yeah, but I'm like, you guys are crazy.
I would never get in the ring.
Like, you're running all these miles. Yeah. Like, oh my God. Like, what makes you want to do that?
Well, like we were joking before the podcast, like you're the first person who lives local to me who's come over here, and it's some gigantic drive out here. And you're like, yeah, down the street, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But this is where all the beautiful, the nature around here is insane. Like I lived out here for years before I got into this kind of stuff. And I didn't even realize it was like all going on around here until you start getting out there and exploring it.
I saw your interview with some of your interview with Lindsey Vonn, and you were like, come out here with me. She's like, it's hot out here. I don't want to come out here.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So funny. Yeah. You have like I was thinking about Lindsey because your trajectory is somewhat similar, like retiring from this sport, you know, having a certain level of like fame and notoriety and success, and like trying to now translate your unique life experience into, you know, this wellness channel where you can be like a mentor and somebody who can provide, you know, products that support people. So she's done a pretty cool, you know, she's doing cool things with that.
Oh, that's great. I think that, you know, and there's going to be those who've done it and that's not their passion. You know, I just really believe in following your passion, and I truly am passionate about, and we all have a different audience, right, of people and different levels of health and wellness that people are on. I like to really get those people who are just like, I'm healthy. I only drink clear soda.
Right.
You know, we got that. I remember the first time I heard that, I'm like, what?
Clear soda.
You just so you know, because like, well, I don't drink the dark soda. I was like, okay, you know, so because I can really speak to them in a way that they understand that's not over their head.
Right.
You know, so that is one thing, because I'm not over the top. Like, I'll still go get a glazed donut. There's a place called Blinky's in Woodland Hills. They got the best donuts ever. Oh my God. Now look. I'm telling you, I'm that girl. Like, I understand health and wellness, and I understand that the fried donut and the refined sugar is not good for me. But guess what? If I love it that much, I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to have one every once in a while, because I'm stronger than that's going to kill me having it that one time. But I'm not going to go do that every day, you know? So it's like, I can really relate to people because like I have that person living inside me that's still like, I just want to go to Popeyes and get some fried chicken, but I'm not, because that's not high quality chicken, you know, all the kind of different things. But I still crave some of those things, is what I'm saying. So I can relate to those individuals.
Yeah, and then you're relatable to those people.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Exactly.
So kind of like your conversation with the guy in the airplane, like what is, when you're confronted with somebody like that, like what do you say so that you keep it grounded and relatable and not over their head?
First of all, that it's okay. I understand, you know, because a lot of times people are ashamed. But first of all, they're not even comfortable in their own skin. I mean, he had to get one of those, what do you call them, like belt extenders.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's too
like
big
uncomfortable.
For the seat.
Yeah. And just to take the time to listen to someone. People wouldn't even think me as Laila Ali would sit there and talk to you for 5 hours. You know, so it was like just to know that someone cares. And that I'm not judging you. That's one thing. But let's try to figure out how we can make a change here, you know, and everything that you have tried before hasn't worked. Okay, let's do this a little differently. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's just like the comfort and the whole emotional thing behind the eating in the first place is there. You know, this person's not as strong as me where they can just say, I'm just not going to do it. Boom. You know what I mean? Because of whatever it is they're dealing with that I can't relate to. But I do know that what really has worked well is just what can we add opposed to what we need to take away, you know, and you got to take baby steps in the right direction. So, and I told him, I was like, yeah, reach out to me and let me know how you're doing. He never did.
He didn't?
No, he never did. He might have lost.
He must have been thrilled to be sitting next to you though. He
was so cool. I mean, he didn't act like he was like, oh my God, you know, he kind of was just kind of down on himself, but we had this whole conversation, but he felt good by the end of the conversation. And I see a little spark in his eyes. Like, yeah, I think I can do that. I think I can go get a medium fry and instead of a large fry. So I said, okay.
Yeah.
You know, but I just appreciated that he was honest with me about what he was going to go get, you know? So I had hope for him, you know?
Well, the follow-up is the tough thing. It's like, he's probably thinking, I should reach out to her, but she doesn't really want to hear, you know, like there's a self-defeating narrative that takes over that prevents him from
Or he might have been
out.
like me and just lost my information because I do it all the time. People give me something.
I doubt that. I doubt he lost your information. And how does that work with trying to get somebody active for the first time? Same, you know, small chunks kind of advice?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation because a lot of people that I'm dealing with, I can't touch them and reach out to them and, you know, work with them individually. But I really encourage people to get with a partner or get with a friend, get with someone who you guys can hold each other accountable because that's what we need. We need to be held accountable because when it's just yourself, sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not getting out of bed and nobody's going to know. But if you have a friend, you're like, okay, I want to be there for her, you know, or I want to have her back. So just being accountable, taking small steps. We just have this all or nothing attitude, you know, and we have this, I want to lose this much weight by this much time. It's like, just make progress each week. Try to go and account for some setbacks.
Well, changing habits that you can then sustain because it's about changing your lifestyle. It's not about some goal with an end date. It's about behavioral change that you can live with for the rest of your life.
Well, I tell people even because I did a 14-day cleanse as part of my product. And yeah, you lose some weight. But, you know, there's those people who just want to lose weight. Well, I'm going on this vacation. It's like, okay, whatever. It's a business. If you're that person and that's why you want to do the cleanse, it's still good that you did a cleanse. But I always encourage people after you're done with the cleanse, you need to go on to the meal planning guide that I've provided because if you want to maintain those results, you know, then that's what you need to do because it's a lifestyle change. It's like, don't go, you know, cleanse and then just go put the same old crap back in your body and all that type of thing. So if you really want to be on this journey, and that's what my whole, like I said, platform and website is about, then you need to start thinking differently about how you go into it and then your purpose. Because again, a lot of people have had health scares. And that's when they're like, oh, I want to change my life. And that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. I'm glad you're finally ready. But, you know, it has to be a lifestyle change, you know, because for me, what inspires me is not to be a certain size. Yeah, I like to look good. Yeah, I like to feel fit. I don't like extra fat on my body. That's one thing that bothers me because I understand that it's probably also wrapped around your organs and it's extra weight. And it's just, I'm not at my best. And I know what it feels like to be at my best. So that's what I'm always chasing. Yeah. Right. But at the same time, what was I going to say? I lost my thought.
Knowing what it's like to be at your best, being connected to that feeling and not being perfect.
That's the boxer, you know, whatever. I'm a little punchy sometimes.
I thought you never got punched.
That sucker just went. No,
I was doled out the beating.
No, I was sparring with men. I was taking a beating in the gym. That's why the fights were easy. But that happens sometimes.
Do you worry about like TBI or any
I don't worry,
stuff?
but I literally just lost my train of thought. Right. So it's like I always think, that has something to do. It has affected me because my memory sometimes I've ran into people that are like, "Hey, Layla," and I'm like, "You look familiar." Like, oh God, I know I need to know this person.
Yeah, but you probably meet a ton
No,
of
but
people.
This can be a person that literally was like, we went to high school together, like we hung out together, like on a daily basis, and I'm like, I really don't.
Which high school?
And I'm just like, dang. And then it might come to me later. Oh yeah, but I'm like, how could I not remember that? Crazy.
Yeah. Philanthropy, like giving back, service, these are big. These were big things with your dad, and you do a lot of that as well. So how does like your dad's example inform like how you think about giving back?
It comes natural to me. I naturally want to give. I naturally want to help people. I have certain organizations that I work with. I love working with Feeding America. I have a friend who has
You've been doing that for a long time, right?
Yeah. I have a friend that has an organization called Peace for Kids, which is smaller. It's here in LA, and it's for kids in homes. So I'll donate a lot of times there and go down into Compton and work with them. And, so I get involved with organizations that I'm really feel like I can get behind. I've been involved with the Women's Sports Foundation for many years, empowering girls and women through sports. So, because there's just so many causes. But most of what I do is just trying to give back through, like a lot of what I want to do with Laila Ali Spice Blends is donate a portion of the proceeds to various different organizations. So because I believe that that's what we're all supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So, it's just like whether it's giving up your time or your money or whatever it may be, like giving back in some sort of way.
And you have 2 kids, parent, mm-hmm. right? So how do you instill in your children like this ethos that your dad represented and that you're, exuding in your own life? Like what are the techniques like by which you're raising these kids to try to ensure that they're healthy and happy and care about these things that your dad cared about and that you care about?
I'm figuring it out along the way.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
My son is 10 and my daughter's 8. Mm-hmm. And I do a lot. I let my spirit guide me a lot, my intuition guide me. So I have my general idea of what I want to do, but it's not like a set plan. Mm-hmm. So because like my son, you never know what you're going to get with your kids. He's so like I would think he was going to be like this strong, tough kind of boy, and he's got the kindest, sweetest heart, and he's just like timid, like he's just like. And I'm like, man, my son, but he's strong. He's a leader, but he's a gentle, kind leader. But he's got the sweetest heart. And I worry about him like, oh, God, he's just so gentle and kind and sweet. I just wish he was a little stronger. But he is who he is. He doesn't belong to me. He came to this world through me. And my daughter is like this little feisty. She's like just like me. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, oh, man, I got my hands full with her. So it's like they know who their grandfather is. And they really got a real piece of it when we went out to Louisville when he passed away. And we went and they saw, the processional and all the people in the streets.
And they're old enough to remember that.
Yeah, and they were very overwhelmed by it. Like, oh, my God, because they didn't realize the magnitude. So they have a lot of pride. There's certain things, like I didn't take them to see the Ali movie, because I knew there's things in there that I'm not ready to explain to them yet. Mm-hmm. Like my kids, obviously, is when you're a parent, you're Black and you have kids, we have to raise our kids differently. Because it's like the best way I can explain it is like, as a parent, you think, okay, when am I going to teach my kids about sex? Mm-hmm. And when am I going to teach my kids? We have to think, when are we going to teach our kids about how the world is going to be unfair to them and you're going to have to work harder and, all these things. Like, how do you tell your kids that? And what is the best age to tell them? For me, my struggle is, what is the best age to tell them how things are and how people think of them and how they're not thought of as equal without them not feeling that way, without them feeling, well, why is that? It must be true because these are kids, right? So like even with slavery, when you learn about that in school, it does something to you because you see these pictures of slaves and chains and you're that. And you're like, well, are we less, or are we inferior? Well, why? Well, why this and why that? And you don't understand, well, why did God let this happen? And, there's all these things that go on inside of you. So for my kids, I'm trying to figure out like what is going to be the best age for that, where they can still stay strong. Without it chipping away at them like it does all of us. Yeah. So I didn't want them to see that because if they saw a lot of his story, then I have to deal with all that as well. So I'm waiting to find that balance, and I'm kind of, but at the same time, you don't want them to experience something for the first time and learn it from someone else than what you taught them.
Right. You want to be able to shepherd them through that.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, everything's online. Like they can just spend, forever.
They're not looking for it though.
No, but at some point, it's all there. And
I tell them certain things. Like, for example, I'll say, well, some people are mean, and they don't like certain people because of the color of their skin or whatever. And, and like they always say to me, because we live around here, well, my daughter's like, how come everyone's vanilla?
Yeah.
She's like, or if I take her to go play soccer,
it's pretty white out here.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So she was like, really? And I said, well, you know what? We live in an area where there's a lot of vanilla people. I said, sometimes you go places and there's a lot of Mexican people or a lot of Asian people, and this is just where we live. And then you go places, a lot of chocolate people. Mm-hmm. So she was just like, oh, okay. And then like when we go sign up for sports, she walks up and she's like, oh, the girls are vanilla. I'm like, it's okay.
Vanilla.
They're not, to her it's vanilla. And I'm like, I didn't want to correct her. So I'm like, okay, that's how she sees it. So it's just like she's starting to
call herself chocolate then?
Yeah, she's like chocolate. So she understood. Well, I think that has changed just now because now I've heard her actually say white and black. They start learning from other people. But that was like a couple years ago. But it was so cute to me. They're just so, but if that was me as a parent, her first thought and her first time talking about it and how I respond to it and what I say is what was going to stick with her.
Yeah.
So I just said, so then she just let it go. Like, oh, okay. I said, it just depends. Different people live in different areas and it's fine. And they're nice girls. It doesn't matter. She's like, okay, so.
Yeah, that's a lot to shoulder.
Yeah. But I mean, it is what it is. So it's like, I believe everything happens for a reason. And just like when we talked about my father and him not necessarily always being there for me because what he was doing, it's like, I kind of like, okay, we'll all get the answers to this at some point, why things are the way they are and why history has happened the way that it did. And, you know, we don't always see the end of the tunnel, you know, and that's when you have that faith in knowing, then you just got to roll with it, you know? So
what do you think, other than just his innate, you know, humanness, like what do you think people miss or don't understand about your dad?
Miss, I don't know. In terms of, because so many people.
Well, life is so much more complicated and nuanced than what you see, you know, in a documentary or in a news clip. Right?
He was so that person though. Like that's the thing about my dad, I would say. That's really who he was, what you saw. You know, my father, what we miss and people who know him miss is just his energy in terms of just even with his Parkinson's and he didn't talk anymore. He just had this strong energy and this love, you know, and that's what I've seen so many people who would just come around him and all of a sudden just start crying. And they didn't even know why.
Like a guru.
Yes.
Like he just like somebody, I mean, who could walk into a room and the entire room is transformed just by his presence.
And that's just something special about that, you know? So that's what you know, just I kind of always used to hug him and just put my face up against his and the way he smelled and his soft hair. He was just like a big old sweet baby to me. So like that's what I miss about him. But I think that a lot of people just miss this, that, you know, you see someone that great and wonderful that they respect and looked up so much to, and now he's gone. So it's like we're watching history unfold in front of us. It's like, dang, there's never going to be another Muhammad Ali. So it's sad to let that go because people are just different now, you know, and people want more of that. And when I think about why my dad was so great and amazing, and why people are just like, wow, it's just like, he just believed in himself. He was a little boy from Louisville, Kentucky that thought he was the greatest and put his all into everything and loved himself. It's like I wish we could just all be more like that. Right. We all can be like Muhammad Ali. And he stood up for what he believed in. He did what was right. These are basic things that we all put on a pedestal because we can't do it ourselves a lot of the time. So it's just like, man, you know, it just really shaped the way that I see people and I view the world, you know, and it's just like, he didn't have an entourage of people around him. He didn't go around flaunting his money, you know, or put anybody down or step on anybody to, you know, make himself look better. He just was a real person, you know, a real guy that loved people.
Well, it definitely wasn't about money.
No.
You know?
He understood. I mean, everybody wants to have nice things, you know, but it wasn't like trust me, my mom has told me stories of us being bankrupt a couple times from him giving his money away, writing blank checks. He'd do stupid stuff like that. He was like a kid, like when it came to certain things, he'd write his here, you know, and write a blank check. Like he was really gullible and naive when it came to, that's why I said we're so different with certain things, but he was just like a big kid. But he understood that having money, also having the Rolex and the Rolls Royce would get people to listen. When you're talking about the African American community, because people are attracted to those things. How did you get what you have? You know, I want that too. And then they would listen. So
the ability to say what you mean, do it in a very poetic, compelling, charismatic way. And just the honesty of it, you know, I think, you know, it is really, the more I think about it, it really, you know, everything that he kind of did, with the exception of being the greatest boxer, are things that we can do and learn from and incorporate into our own lives.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's only going to be one Muhammad Ali, but a lot of those things we can do. We can incorporate into our own lives. And I think that a lot of people have. I hear stories all the time. I mean, you can imagine all the Muhammad Ali stories I've heard growing up.
You must be like, oh, please.
I get emails to my business. I'm like, that's when you asked at the very beginning, when you were like, there's got to be some things that you love and you wish could just, the things that I wish that could just go away.
People telling you their
stop sending me. Stop sending me. Like it's great. I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but I get everything that anyone creates that, you know, it's for your, I just want to show you this painting that I drew. Okay. Thank you. It's nice. I've seen a million of them. It's beautiful. And then it's like, I've been trying to get this to your dad for years, but I haven't been able to. Can you help me? You know, it's like anything overflow. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't help you. Or I want to start this line of t-shirts. Can you approve it for me? Oh, that's the thing. Like, they think I can approve. And I'm like, I don't have his name and I can't approve. So it just creates extra work on my end and for my folks, but it's just like, that's just part of it comes with it, a small price to pay.
Right.
I'm just like, but that's the thing. That's the only thing that is annoying about being Muhammad Ali's daughter to me.
So
it's just
funny.
that kind of stuff. Like, really? So,
all right. Well, let's land this plane. I think a good way to kind of close this is just, final parting words to the person who's listening out there who feels stuck. Maybe it's that guy on the airplane, or, somebody who's just, on a path that isn't serving them. They're not eating right. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not fulfilled in their job. Like, what is the, advice or the wisdom or the inspiration that you can impart to that person to maybe help them, like, look at things a little bit differently?
That's a big question.
I know. Solve that.
I know, right? I'm like, dang.
The world opens up to you.
I just really like to keep it simple. And the thing is that God only created one of you. And I believe God doesn't make mistakes. And if you don't believe in God, you try to know there's only one of you on this planet, regardless of how you got here. Okay. There's only one, and you have one life to live. It's your life, nobody else's, so it's just like really about figuring out, what your purpose is. And that can take a whole lifetime, and just trying to be on the quest to be the best version of yourself. That's it. And that's very vague, right? It's very vague. It's like whether it's nutrition or mindset or whatever it is in your relationships or your finances or whatever, finding that balance, just being on the quest. So I believe in just surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are on that same quest as you, the tools that you need. Once you do that, because like it can be overwhelming, but once you find these podcasts that you want to listen to, or these books, or these certain friends, or these people that are eating a certain way, or that, are exercising a certain way, or whatever it is, just surround yourself with the right people and you will start to see changes happen. That's the most important thing. You don't have to do anything else other than that, but surround yourself with the people and the tools that you need, and just make them a part of your daily life. Because guess what? If you keep making that other bullshit a part of your daily life, that's how your life is going to unfold that way. It's just the way that it is, right? So it's like, that's pretty much it, because it's like you are going to be the company you keep. You are going to be the things that you surround yourself with. You are going to be the food that you eat. So just start thinking, okay, how can I start to change these things around me, this circle around me, and start making it look like the way that I want to be or the life that I want to have? And then you're going to be able to pull from those things. Even without a real plan other than just surrounding yourself with it, things are going to start to happen, because those friends are going to say certain things to you. They're going to encourage you. They're going to, challenge you. And those foods that you eat, or those things, they're going to start giving you the nutrition that you need, the podcasts that you hear. One day we might just hear one person say one thing that is going to stick with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to lead to something else. So it's like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Raise the vibe across the board.
Yeah, just raise that vibe,
all right.
baby.
Preach it, girl. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So nice to talk to you. I loved it. And if you want to connect with Laila, the best way to do that, LailaAli.com, right? And you're the real Laila. I am the real Laila Ali. Because there were other Laila Alis. Really?
Yes.
How is that?
I know, it's crazy. It's an Arabic name, so there was a lot of other Laila Ali, so I had to make mine the real. Otherwise, I'd just been Laila Ali.
All right. Well, you are the real one. So good talking to you. Thank you.
Thank
Come
you.
back and
Thanks
talk
for
to me again
me
sometimes.
For sure.
Peace.